Students, I am Pervesh and today I am here to teach you your English book Beehive. In this book today we are going to read the poem A Legend of the Northland, and this poem is composed by Folk Carey. Let us read this poem. Away, away in the Northland, where the hours of the day are few, and the nights are so long in winter that they can't sleep them through. The poet tells us that in Northland the day has few hours, but the nights are long, and the people there they can't sleep through all over the night. Where they harness the swift reindeer to the sledges when it snows, and they plows reindeers in the sledges when it falls snow, and the children look like bears cub in their funny furry clothes, and their children looks like a bear cub because they wear furry clothes. They tell them a curious story. I don't believe it's true, and yet you may learn a lesson if I tell the tale to you. And those people tell stories and all the tell to their children. And I don't think that this story is true, but if you listen the story, you will learn a lesson from this story. Once when the good Saint Peter lived in the world below. The story is about when Saint Peter lived in this world, in the world below, and walked about it preaching. Just he did, you know, and his work was to preach the people as you know it. He came to the door of a cottage in traveling round the earth, where a little woman was making cakes and baking them on the hearth. And then, when he was traveling around the earth, he came to a cottage, and he saw that there one woman was baking cakes on a hearth, on a stove. And being faint with fasting, for the day was almost done, he asked her from her store of cakes to give him a single one, and Saint Peter asked that woman to give him a cake from her cake store, because the saint was hungry because he was traveling over the all day. So she made a very little cake, but it is but as it baking lay. So she made a little cake, but as it baking lay, she looked at it and thought it seemed too large to give away. And then the woman made a little cake for Saint Peter, but when she baked it, she found that it was large to give away, and therefore she needed another and still a smaller one. But it looked when she turned it over as large as the first had done. And now second time he made a smaller cake, but when she was giving to Peter, it seemed her too large. It seemed her large to give away. For she said, "My cakes." Sorry. Then she took a teeny scrap of dough and rolled it flat and baked it thin as a wafer, but she couldn't part with that. And then on third time she took very little, a teeny piece of dough, and she rolled it, and as she rolled it very thin as a wafer, but she could not give it to Saint Peter. For she said, and then she said, "My cakes that seem too small when I eat to them myself are yet too large to give away." So she put them on the shelf, and she said that whenever I eat my cakes myself, my cakes seem to me small, but whenever I give them to anyone, those seems too large to give. Then good Saint Peter grew angry, for he was hungry and faint, and surely such a woman was enough to provoke a saint. And now, seeing this, Saint Peter grew angry, and surely such a woman was enough to provoke a saint, because that woman made him angry. And he said, "You are far too selfish to dwell in the human form, to have both food and shelter, and fire to keep you warm." And then Saint Peter said to that woman that you are not able to be in the form of a woman, and to have shelter and to have fire to warm you. Now you shall build as the bird do, and shall get your scanty food by boring and boring and boring all day in the hard dry wood. And then Saint Peter said that woman that till now you will do like a bird, you will do hard work and you will bore and bore and bore, and then you will get your food. Then up she went through the chimney, never speaking a word, and out of the top flew a woodpecker, for she was changed into a bird. And now Saint Peter changed that woman into the form of a bird, and she flew through the chimney without speaking any word. She had a scarlet cap on her head, and that was left the same, but all the rest of her clothes were burnt black as a coal in the flame. And as she had that time, the scarlet head on her head, but her clothes are like a coal. And every country schoolboy has seen her in the wood, where she lives in the trees till this very day, boring and boring for food. And every boy, school-going boy, know about that bird, that the bird bore and bore and bore to get her food. This is the story of this poem.